Super Eagles gaffer Eric Chelle will arrive London this week as he begins his team rebuilding process. Report says that the Franco-Malian is looking to shape his squad ahead of upcoming games to ensure that the Super Eagles are in prime position for a better performance. Eric Chelle will meet with Nwaneri in London this week, according to a report. Now, quoting Chelle, he said, "I'm optimistic that Nwaneri will see the reason that he has more of a prospect of playing for the Super Eagles at the Three Lions." He said Nwaneri has been a major discovery for the Gunners this season. Michael, what do you make of this Nwaneri? Do you think he's going to accept playing for the Super Eagles of Nigeria?
For me, I think it's gonna be a very big decision-making time for Nwaneri. But then, realistically speaking, I think for me, he will have more time. He will have more, opportunity of playing national team football with the Super Eagles than for the Three Lions, because record have shown that over the years, the Three Lions, when they get players from Nigerian descent, they'll just cap you once, twice at most. The next other things, you are maybe more like forgotten. See the likes of Tammy Abraham. He was eligible to play for the Super Eagles, but he opted to play for the Three Lions. He was capped. How many games has he seen with the Three Lions? We talk about Fisayo Tomori. The same, he had the opportunity to don on the jersey of the Super Eagles, but he opted for English national team. And today, where is he? Gabriel Agbolanho. I can mention...
But it's all about the performance. It's all about Bukayo Saka.
It's all about Bukayo Saka. But these players that I've just mentioned, these are players that are doing pretty well now and even before in their club side. Gabriel Agbolanho was one of the best winger at Aston Villa then. But he had opted to play for the Three Lions. And today, can you say that he was fulfilled playing for the Three Lions? No. So for me, I think if he wants to do himself good...
For me, this is consistency. If you're consistent... Abraham, how long was he consistent? After he left Chelsea, I think down to, was it AS Roma, and thereabout. You talk about these players, Tomori went to AC Milan. What's the level of consistency? You talk about the Three Lions of England, they have arrays of players. You have to be at your best. And that's why, for me, I always use Bukayo Saka as a very example. The man has been consistent with his game. And that's why at every point in time, you always see him being called up to play for the Three Lions of England. So for me, I think if you're up there with your game, definitely there's a chance for you to get called up. So for me, I think it's all about the performance of these players. Not probably being consistent for a very long time, and then not being that's probably the reason why they couldn't make it down to the squad of the Three Lions of England. For me, that's it.
And I want to take you back to the roots of consistency. You talked about Tammy Abraham. You questioned his consistency. Maybe he might not have keeping track on the developmental prospects or the consistency of this player, but just a quick reminder that Tammy Abraham had one of his best seasons before leaving Chelsea. In fact, he scored about 17 goals before leaving Chelsea.
During his days of consistency, wasn't he invited?
He was invited how many times, and how many times did he play for? Not just being invited and you sit on the bench, you come after more like 88 minutes, you come and do 2 minutes a cameo appearance. You talk about, will you be happy as a player playing 2 minutes out of your national team? He left Chelsea to AS Roma. He was still very consistent. He was their marksman. Did pretty well. He was consistently delivering for AS Roma. But then he never get a call-up before he moved to AC Milan last season. And at AC Milan, it's not doing badly. You talk about Tomori. Tomori had no game time at Chelsea. He decided to leave for loan, where he got, the chance to play week in, week out. He was their solid rock defender in AC Milan and still is consistently delivering when it matters most, holding that, backline very strong. He was very consistent. Never got the opportunity again to play. Gabriel Agbolanho was the most consistent player at Aston Villa during his 8 days. But then he got 1 or 2 caps and never showed up again. Nobody called him. So it's not about being consistent. It's just that the English national team, they have preference for their players.
So why do you have preference for Bukayo Saka?
Bukayo Saka, this is one among many millions of the Nigerian decent players that have played for them. One among many millions. Will you say that any Nigerian tracing back through the line, they've been able to shoot? I mean, even with your consistency for you to make the 3 Lions team. And which country or which national team at the moment would not want to play Bukayo Saka?
That's the thing, because the man is on top of his game.
That is why I took you back. You talked about consistent backs. Actually rolled down in detail how Tammy Abraham was consistent.
Now,
Busayo Tomori was consistent.
If you can remember how he went down to AS Roma, don't forget he wasn't really having that much, top-notch performance at Chelsea. Jose Mourinho has to call him to AS Roma based on the fact that, yes, he wasn't that, of his style anymore at Chelsea.
Not that he wasn't.
His performance dropped.
No.
Mourinho, being lovers of African players, has to bring him down, of course, to AS Roma to play for him. No.
I want to correct that, impression. It was very wrong. You can't say that he dropped him from. Like I told you last time, Tammy Abraham scored. In fact, had one of his best seasons before leaving. It's just that for him, he felt he needed a bigger challenge.
At AS Roma.
Of course, there are some players that naturally, when they stay in big club, they don't do well. But when you go to average clubs, they do well. You can go back and check your stats.
Okay.
Tammy Abraham scored more than 15 to 17 goals. That very season, he was their top. In fact, he was even their top striker before leaving. Before Mourinho will come calling for you, he knows what you brings in. He wouldn't just call Tammy Abraham because he was sitting on the bench. He had his best game for Chelsea. In fact, he is their key man in the attack, because as at then, Chelsea had no center forward that is that reliable. Tammy Abraham was the man that was running the show.
If Abraham was that very good, he wouldn't have gone to AS Roma. Chelsea wouldn't have allowed him to go.
Now, you talk about if he was that good. Was Mo Salah not good before he left Chelsea to AS Roma?
Talking about Mo Salah being that good, wasn't that top notch at Chelsea?
Jesus.
Yes.
That is at Chelsea.
Before he went to AS Roma, it was the second coming to England. That's when, of course, he had that impressive performance with Liverpool.
But when he went to AS Roma, he delivered.
Yes.
He did pretty well.
Yes.
And so, does it mean that he was not good at Chelsea? I mean, as a player at Chelsea before leaving to AS Roma?
You would say he wasn't that good at, but he was not, at his peak at Chelsea.
Chelsea had a race of stars, and if you stay there as at that point, in fact, it is one of the reasons why Mikel was converted by Jose Mourinho as a central defensive midfielder. Mikel naturally wasn't a central defensive midfielder, but when you have too much a race of stars, you tend to, lower down your pride a bit, take a role that is not comfortable with you just to make sure you see game time, and that is what happened to Mo Salah. So for me, I think the issue of Nwaneri choosing between the Super Eagles and the 3 Lions, I would say it for the Upton Times. If you want to enjoy national team football, my brother, he should pick Nigeria and represent Nigeria. Because if he does choose 3 Lions, I can tell you for sure, maybe in years to come, that we discussed about this. That man is going to be capped, no doubt, but I tell you, he will not be that prominent for the 3 Lion national team. Stats have shown.
Okay.